She's gone. No struggle, no trace, Liam muttered to himself as he sped toward the Stone residence, Maria's words ringing in his head. Blood everywhere. Unconscious. Jack Stone, Evelyn's brother, had been found bloody and unconscious in his own home. A victim? Maybe. Or was this something darker? Evelyn Stone's disappearance was already a twisted mystery. The small town of Oakridge wasn't used to cases like this: quiet streets, friendly neighbors, and a routine that never seemed to break. But everything about this case felt wrong, and now, with Jack injured, it was about to unravel even more. Liam turned the corner onto Jack's street, the house coming into view. It looked like every other house on the block. Quiet, still, normal. But Liam's gut twisted as he pulled up to the curb. The door was slightly ajar, and the dim light inside cast eerie shadows across the lawn. He stepped out of the car, his pulse quickening. Something was wrong. The neighborhood was too quiet, as if holding its breath. Liam's hand hovered near his gun as he pushed the door open. The air inside the house was thick with a smell that made his stomach turn. Blood. His heart pounded as he called out, "Jack." No response. Liam moved deeper into the house, his eyes scanning every corner. In the hallway, the first signs of what Maria had described came into view. Dark smears of blood on the floor, leading toward the living room. He followed the trail, dread building with each step. When he stepped into the living room, he found him. Jack Stone, slumped on the floor, unconscious, his head bleeding heavily. The scene was worse than he had imagined. Jack's pale face, the blood pooling beneath him. It was chaos. Liam knelt beside him, checking his pulse. Weak, but still there. His thoughts raced. If Jack was attacked, was Evelyn's disappearance connected? Or had Jack been hiding something all along, something that had finally come back to haunt him? "Jack, can you hear me?" Liam shook him gently, but there was no response. His breathing was shallow, and he needed medical attention fast. As Liam dialed for an ambulance, his eyes caught something strange on the coffee table. A small, black notebook, partially hidden under a pile of papers. Liam's instincts kicked in. This wasn't a random attack. There was something here, something that Jack hadn't told him. Liam grabbed the notebook, flipping it open, and what he found made his blood run cold. Pages filled with detailed notes about Evelyn, her daily routine, the time she left for her jogs, her habits. Each page was carefully dated, like someone had been following her, watching her. His hands trembled as he turned the pages. This wasn't normal concern for a sister. This was obsession. But was it Jack's obsession? Liam's mind raced as he tried to piece it all together. Jack had been keeping tabs on Evelyn, but why? And if he was this obsessed, why was he attacked? Something wasn't adding up. He needed answers. Fast. The ambulance arrived within minutes, and Liam watched as paramedics lifted Jack onto a stretcher. His injuries were severe, but he would survive. As they wheeled Jack out, Liam's phone buzzed in his pocket. It was Maria. "Liam," she said, her voice sharp with urgency. "You're not going to believe this." "What?" Liam asked, already bracing himself. "I just ran a search on David Harlow, the guy who owned the car Evelyn got into. He's been missing for weeks," Maria said. "But there's more. He and Jack used to work together, a real estate firm, small-town business, but they had a falling out about 5 years ago. Things got messy." Liam's stomach sank. "Messy how?" "Rumors, mostly," Maria explained. "No official complaints, but people say there was some bad blood. Jack never talked about it, and David left town shortly after. Now, both David and Evelyn are missing, and Jack's been attacked. This isn't a coincidence." Liam's mind reeled. If Jack and David had a history, that could explain why Evelyn had been dragged into it. But something still didn't sit right. The notes in the notebook, Evelyn's every move documented like some sort of sick surveillance. If Jack had been keeping tabs on his sister, had David been doing the same? Suddenly, Liam felt the walls closing in. The twisted layers of this case were beginning to pile up, and none of them made sense. The more they uncovered, the darker the truth seemed to be. Later that night, Liam sat in his car outside the hospital, staring at his phone. He had called in every favor, dug through every available file, but there were still too many unanswered questions. His phone buzzed again. Another call from Maria. "Liam, I've been going through Evelyn's phone records," Maria said, her voice barely above a whisper. She had been texting someone in the weeks before she disappeared, frequent messages. The number's unregistered, but I tracked it down to a burner phone. Liam's heart pounded. Who was she talking to? That's the thing, Maria continued. It's a dead end. No names, no locations, just messages, short ones. Things like, meet me at 6 and don't tell him. Whoever it was, Evelyn was hiding something, and I think Jack knew. Liam closed his eyes, the pieces falling into place. Evelyn had been trying to get away from something, or someone, and Jack had been keeping her close, too close. But who was she trying to protect? And who was she afraid of? His phone buzzed again, a text this time, from an unknown number. Stop digging or you'll regret it. Liam's blood turned to ice. Someone was watching him. Someone knew he was getting close. The next day, Liam returned to the station, determined to get answers. He spent hours going through old files, sifting through every bit of information on David Harlow, Jack, and Evelyn. Every thread he pulled on led to another dead end, another layer of mystery. But one thing was becoming clear. This wasn't just about Evelyn's disappearance. There was something much darker at play, something that had been brewing for years. Maria arrived mid-morning, her face grim. I've got something, she said, dropping a folder onto Liam's desk. Bank statements. Jack's been making regular payments to a private account for months, large amounts. Who's the recipient? Liam asked, flipping through the pages. We don't know yet. It's untraceable, Maria replied. But here's the thing. These payments started around the same time David Harlow disappeared. Liam's heart raced. Are you saying Jack was paying David? Maria nodded. That's what it looks like. But why? What was Jack hiding that he needed to pay someone off? The room fell silent as Liam tried to process everything. Jack, David, Evelyn, all tangled in a web of secrets, lies, and fear. The truth was close, but every step they took seemed to lead to more questions. And now, with someone threatening Liam, the danger was more real than ever. Later that evening, Liam sat alone in his apartment, staring at the black notebook he had taken from Jack's house. The meticulous notes, the dates, the surveillance. It was all too much. Jack had been obsessed with his sister, but he wasn't the only one involved. David had been pulling the strings, and Evelyn had been caught in the middle. Suddenly his phone buzzed again, another text from the unknown number. Check the basement. Liam's blood ran cold. He knew exactly what that meant. Someone was leading him to the next piece of the puzzle. Liam arrived at Jack's house just after dark, the street eerily quiet. He made his way to the back of the house, where a small door led down to the basement. His hand hovered over his gun as he pushed the door open, his heart racing. The basement was dark, damp, and filled with boxes. But in the corner, hidden behind a stack of old furniture, was something that made Liam's stomach turn. A video camera, still recording. He stepped closer, his breath catching in his throat as he pressed play. The screen flickered to life, and there she was. Evelyn, tied to a chair, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. But she wasn't alone. Standing behind her, holding the camera, was David Harlow. And then, just as the camera panned, Liam saw him. The man giving orders, the man who had orchestrated it all, Jack Stone. Cliffhanger. Liam's world spun as the video cut out. Evelyn was still alive, but she was in more danger than ever. And the man responsible for it all, the one pulling the strings, wasn't who Liam had thought. It was Jack,